Here at the Mayborn Museum at Baylor University, I am the Assistant Director of Collections and Facilities. I really enjoy the hands-on development, playing with different ideas, seeing my work being used and enjoyed. Just really charges my battery. I have always been very physically active, always moving and doing, making things with metalwork and woodwork and various plastics, electronics and pneumatics and hydraulics. That's all very intense handwork that you need to be very mobile for. Do most anything with your hands. In fall of 22, I was fortunate enough to attend Burning Man. I got back from the playa the next day, went to a professional convention up in Pittsburgh, and came back with a case of COVID and strep throat. After we got over it, went to work the next day, still seemed a little tired. The next day, I got up and got out of bed and fell on my face. I could not control my legs at all. I had no strength, and my arms were too weak really to catch my fall. Got me to the hospital. By that time, I really couldn't move much of anything. When I first started happening to me, Debbie said, "This looks like GBS." She has worked with patients with this particular condition, and they started treatment for it right there in the emergency room. By the next day, I couldn't even roll over in bed. All my peripheral nerves had been affected. That is everything outside of my brain and spinal column. It was terrifying. There was some chance that I would never really improve out of where I was right that minute. Stayed in the hospital about 4 months, got out, and was still using a wheelchair. And then I went to another care facility, but the therapy was not of a level that I really needed. I really didn't get the intensity of therapy that I could actually benefit from until I got into the Providence outpatient therapy.
He needed a lot of care. And we're very grateful to Providence therapy. They got him in the very next day.
After a neurological incident, you generally have just a certain window of time to get back whatever you're going to get back. Providence therapy was able to get us in immediately, and that was a huge driving factor.
I met Tom after he had just been released from a rehab facility and he needed to get outpatient therapy. So he came into our clinic to get occupational therapy and physical therapy.
When I got there, really couldn't hardly hold anything. Couldn't reliably pick anything up without looking at it very closely because I still had a good deal of numbness in my hands. OT continued working me on lots of very specific, focused dexterity exercises, worked me on some specific pieces of equipment that were very much like what I would need to be working on both professionally and in my shop at the house. It was a therapy program with me in mind.
We had to do small milestones. First, his hips for sure didn't have the range of motion he needed to be able to do all the functional mobility, like rolling in bed, getting up from a chair on his own. And from there, we worked on standing and then do more functional activities. And we were even able to do stepping up onto a ladder. He always had such a positive attitude. He was so determined to get back to what he wanted to do that it made me want to work harder.
Towards the end, they're really working on therapy directed at helping me resume my usual activities. They would come up with a baseline and say, okay, well, you're in the normal range for a man, your age and weight. That's good. And I'd say, no, this isn't nearly what I used to be able to do. So they started setting up goals to that level.
Tom is definitely one of the most unique patients I've ever had. He has so much interest in so many different activities and such a high skill level. He was always challenging me to come up with new creative ways to use the equipment, to challenge him and say, hey, I want to get back to working on a car. Like, well, how can we make a car in here? We don't have one. So just trying to figure out ways to challenge him to be able to get him back to where he needed to be.
After I started therapy in January 23, it was about April that I started back at work on a part-time basis and continued increasing my time at work until I was full-time, and outpatient therapy at Ascension was very much integrated in that. If I found there was something at work that I was having trouble with, they worked on that specific issue. I was able to get back to my shop and do my stuff there, which is my happy place. The outpatient therapy I got impacted me hugely, not just the PT and the OT, but the emotional and the spiritual support and the cheerleading really made a difference.
With the mission to provide health care to all the community, regardless of how they can pay, it's so essential for the good of the larger community that everybody can get the health care that they need, get it promptly, get the most effective treatment possible. I just really think our community would not be the same if we didn't have that.
God loves a cheerful giver. And I feel like when you're able to give, you get so much more in return. Seeing someone like Tom be able to utilize some of the equipment that the foundation has provided for us and how it benefited him, being able to have him come in here in a wheelchair and walk out, I don't think any of those things would have been possible without some of the donations we've had and the equipment that we have and having therapists that know how to use it.
I will always be extremely thankful to my therapists at Providence. That kind of support you really can't buy. That's people who really care. Without the quality and equipment and personnel, I literally would not have recovered to this degree without it.